that is my time for the top of the session. So I'm actually going to hand it over to Robin and Brandy here, and they are going to take you guys through CS3's Scissortail HCM year-end mastery game plan. So ladies, feel free to take it from here.
Awesome. Thanks so much. One of the things we want to get into that just came up this morning, I think some of our folks have noticed it on payroll. It was a surprise to us as well. So let's address this first. So this is something we found that on the pay statements, if you can see under the rate, it gives a 1 times 29. And this is Josh Bronson out of our demo company. For anybody that hasn't seen a demo in a while, not an actual pay statement from someone. So under the rate column, you'll see it looks a little bit different. Unfortunately, this was changed during the last update in Scissortail. We've been notified this morning it has been sent to engineering for a fix, and we're just waiting for it to either be corrected or give us the opportunity to be able to take that off. So if you have anybody that's processed payroll this week, if you have anybody coming back and asking like, what is this? Why does this look different? We're very aware of it, and we just appreciate your patience while we get this resolved. So let's get into our agenda today. So we're getting close to closing out 2025. We get to celebrate our holidays, and it can be the most fantastic time of year, or it can be super stressful, especially if you are in payroll, HR, benefits. So our goal today is to review the key items that you'll need to prepare for year end, what all you'll need to update before year end, and the most important thing is balancing. So we will talk about W-2s and preparing for the new year. Please keep in mind, we're only going to be discussing Scissortail today. In the past, we've discussed Sage HRMS, but if you are a Sage HRMS client and need assistance, please reach out to support at cs3technology.com. And the same thing for any Sage 100 payroll clients. If you need any help, please send in a support request, and we'll get you scheduled with Mike Talbot. So the number one thing to have in a successful year end is how the beginning of the year starts. Number two thing is just as important is having a year-end action plan that starts early and not wait till the last minute. So this will ensure that you can start 2026 with less stress, and we all need less stress in our lives. So let's take a look at what your 2025 year-end action plan should look like. So these are the top 5 items that should be on your action plan. You want to plan meetings. I know we all love having meetings, but these are the meetings that are very important. So we recommend that you meet with everyone that could be impacted by a year end and have a meeting. Gather everybody up in one location or a Teams call. For example, you'll want to include people like accounting for a 1099 information and payroll, mailroom for postage if you're mailing your W-2s, and those with taxable fringe benefits such as auto. You'll want to let them know their deadline for submitting. You, again, don't want to wait till the last minute. And don't forget to schedule a party after year end is complete in your plan. You might need that party. So dates, be sure to include all of the dates that impact your plan. Think about anybody coming up on vacations, bank holidays, and any deadlines for reporting. Also, when is your last payroll for 2025 and your first payroll of 2026? So when it comes to tasks, be sure to list all the year-end tasks that need to be done. So don't forget about like the nitty-gritty details about ordering W-2 forms, envelopes, anything of that nature. And responsibilities for all the tasks that need to be completed. Be sure to list who's responsible for completing those. Don't just sort of like scatter out a bunch of tasks and expect people to pick those up for you. Actually assign those to folks. That way everybody is on the same page. And the one we all hate talking about, disaster recovery. This is a perfect time to ensure you have a disaster recovery plan in place. So you want to get with IT and see what all that entails. It's always a good time to double check that backups are working correctly. You definitely do not want to be caught in some sort of situation. Okay. So let's talk about getting the W-2 forms and envelopes ordered. So far this year, we have not been notified that there are no major changes to W-2 forms. So W-2 reporting deadline. So Monday, February 2nd is whenever the W-2s are going to be required to be submitted. It's typically January 31st, but because the 31st is a Saturday, that moves to the next business day. Deadlines to furnish W-2s and 1099s to all of your employees, your contractors. Deadline to file the forms, if filing by paper, and the same if filing electronically. So make sure that you have that on your calendar in big bold. So back in 2021, we did see some clarifications on dealing with return W-2s and 1095Cs. I've tried to locate some more current regulations on this, but unfortunately we're getting more suggestions and not necessarily regulations. So we are going to stick to this guideline from the IRS. So it does say that you should make a reasonable effort to deliver, and these are the actual physical W-2s. But if you are unable to deliver, you should hold on to the undeliverables for 4 years until the due date of the return for the employee. On paragraph 2, it shows an example of the 2024 W-2 that would need to be held until April 15th of 28. 1095s should be held for 3 years. There's an example there as well. Now, if the employee is active and can access their W-2 or 1095s electronically, there's no need to keep the undeliverable forms. We're specifically talking about those that are no longer active with your company that have terminated. Here's information regarding Nelco. That is the vendor that we do recommend ordering your W-2s from. They are compatible with the Scissortail system. And also a recent screenshot where you can see the pricing and hyperlinks that'll take you to the compatible envelopes. We did just update this week, and also want to keep in mind when you order these that you are ordering the blank ones. If you order the ones with the instructions on the front with all of the boxes, it is not compatible. So make sure it is the blank W-2 forms. And here's information on how to configure your electronic consent for your W-2s. If you have not done it yet, you can see the instructions here. We can also help you with a report if you want to submit a ticket to support on how to create a report to see who has given electronic consent and who has not. It's a little bit easier than going through if you've got 500 employees going through there to see who has submitted or checked the box for it and signed off for it. So let us know and we can certainly help you with that. Okay. And here's what the actual information looks like on the electronic consent within Scissortail. So this does require them to sign off, and it is through their username and password. So that will mean whenever you go to deliver the W-2s, whether you do it yourself or whether you have us do it, it will deliver it electronically. They will not get a paper copy. So keep that in mind. And also, if the employee terminates, the system will automatically print a paper copy regardless. Even if they have given their electronic consent, they will still get a paper copy. From here, you want to make sure that you confirm that you have your earnings and deductions set up to print in the proper boxes on the W-2. As you can see on the middle column there, it does show which column, or excuse me, which box it will print on. It's just a double check. It's something, even if you've done it last year, just go in case something has gotten unchecked, go in and you'll save yourself some time if it's incorrect. Okay. And one of the big hot topics this summer has been the one big beautiful bill, in particular when it comes to no tax on overtime. What we do know is that it will be a tax deduction as stated in the first sentence in the screenshot from the IRS. We have not received any guidance other than the IRS publication here, where it states or other specified statement furnished to the individual is something, again, we have no guidance yet from the IRS. There should be information coming out for how to handle this. And again, as soon as we know, y'all will know. So we appreciate everyone's patience as we are eagerly awaiting information on what to do. All right. When it comes to updates, as we've already discussed from the beginning of this, Scissortail is such an easy process when it comes to updates. It's because the updates are automatically installed for you since Scissortail is part of the software as a service environment. They should be installed around December 29th of this year, and any hot fixes that are released during monthly updates. So when updates happen, you will get an announcement of any changes, just like the one on the left side of the slide. All right, Brandy, are you ready to talk about balancing?
Yeah, because it's everybody's favorite thing, right?
So fun.
So let's just dive straight in to talk about balancing and year end. So this is a reminder, be sure to double check your taxable wages because they're one of the most important things or one of the big key factors for making sure your tax filings are correct. We definitely recommend hand calculating your taxable wages at least quarterly, if not more often. And as we move through the next few slides, we'll talk about different reports you can use for balancing. And then you'll also want to compare reports like your 941s to your W-2s and your state reportings back against everything else, and just make sure everything looks correct. So a little more detail. Regardless of which system you use, one of the most important things you can do is the hand calculated taxable wages. Did I say it enough yet? Okay. This allows you to make sure that you got your code set up correctly and that there are no accidental employee issues like marking someone exempt when they should have been non-exempt. And I have an example of how to do this up on the screen. So we're going to take our earnings minus any non-taxable items like reimbursements. Then we'll subtract 125 deductions. And that'll give us our Social Security or Medicare taxable wages. And then if we need federal and state, we just subtract our 401k deductions to get those numbers. Now that gives you most states taxable wages, but there's always some exception states, right? Like Pennsylvania doesn't treat 401k the same as federal does. So there's going to be a few odd states, but the majority of states follow this rule. So when we talk about hand calculating our taxable wages, there's some ways we can do it and have the computer help us, right? So the first thing is I can tell you, Scissortail has a ton of built-in protections to keep you from making mistakes on your taxable wage setup. So when you set up and you select the type of earning it is or the type of deduction it is, the system knows how to handle those. So as long as you select the right things up front, it's a good thing. And like Robin talked about double checking them, it's always good to just double check every year and make sure everything looks good. We definitely recommend if you add a new earning code or a deduction code to do a test check and just make sure the taxable wages are calculating correctly. And if you don't use our tax services, we definitely encourage doing this at least quarterly. I will tell you, for any of our tax service clients, CS3 runs a process every week, and we do quarter to date and year to date and double check that taxable wages look correct. We do take out anybody that's marked exempt and stuff like that. We expect you guys to take care of that part of it, but we hand calculate the taxable wages, compare them to what the system has, and if we run into any issues, we either contact you or run a correction if we see it's something small. Keep in mind you can run this export for any date range you want and run it at any time. Like I said, we do it weekly just to make sure we catch things quickly and they don't get out of hand. And that inset is just an example of the export for you. Okay. And I'll say one more thing about it is it kicks out all of the columns, all kinds of columns, and you just have to make a formula to take, um, gross wages minus any reimbursements, minus any 125s, compare that, so you just have to put a few formulas in to actually do those calculations and then compare it back against the system calculated taxable wages. Okay, and from this screenshot, you can see there's some different boxes on your W-2s. And remember, this is a report just like any other where you can sort, filter, and review your W-2s. On the left-hand side, there's some icons where you can preview a copy of the W-2 and also edit them. There's a download button where you can download the W-2s to save a copy or to print for the employees that have not selected electronic consent. One keynote to remember is even if people say no to electronic consent, the W-2s will still be available in Scissortail. Everybody will be able to see their W-2 in Scissortail. The only thing electronic consent does is keep you from having to print it. All right, so Robin, you're up next.
Awesome. All right. So let's talk about what are the items we need to set up, review, and test. So those are going to be any new benefits, deductions, earnings, all the things. So we will need to review by processing an open payroll, make sure your benefits come into payroll with the correct amounts, and lastly, do a test payroll. Make sure earnings and new deductions get taxed correctly. You can test with putting in a fake time and test it out and then delete the payroll and time back out after you test. And if you need any help creating a test payroll or looking at this, send in a support ticket. We are happy to help anytime. So the legislative changes that are updated rates for Social Security limit for 2026, and here's the key data with it. So it moved from 176,100 to 184,500 for 2026. Also, the maximum Social Security tax, which the employees and the employers will each pay in 2026, did increase $521 to $11,439. This screen for the 401k limits and other HSAs, other benefits, displays how the 401k is updated for 2026 compared to the 2025 number. So you can definitely see some increases there. Okay. Scissortail 401k limits. This is the easiest one for you. You don't have to do anything. So anytime there is an update for the 401k limit, the system does maintain that for you. If you want to go in and double check it, always recommend another set of eyes on it. So it is one of those, it's a hands-off as if you want it to be, or you can definitely go take a look at it as well. Next up is the new information regarding the Roth 401k. Highly compensated employees, or HCEs, are now allowed to catch up their Roth contributions. If you're unsure if your plan offers this or not, please reach out to your 401k provider. That's not something we can answer for you. So we want to be able to be sure that you are following your summary plan description for your 401k or your Roth plan. If your plan does include the Roth catch-up, you can turn this option on by checking the box in the highlighted box at the bottom middle of the screen. But please only do this after January 1st, 2026. Otherwise, you could be at risk for including contributions in 2025, and you don't want to be out of compliance. So this is for 2026 wages only. And again, as we've said a million times on this, if you need help, please reach out to support. So Brandy, what else do you have for us on our favorite thing, taxes?
Let's talk about tax rate changes for the new year. So what happens when you get those pesky unemployment rate notices? couple of things you can do. You can put them straight into Scissortail. And you can see a screenshot there of how you could put one in. Sorry, clicking the Hit button. By just adding a new row, giving an effective date, and put the new rate in. We also ask if you're a CS3 tax client that you send a copy of it into support at CS3. That allows us to just save a copy of it, just do all of our checks and balances to make sure we file your taxes correctly. And if you don't take advantage of the CS3 filing service, you still get this cool item. I'm an old HRMS person, so we didn't have this. We had to switch it back and forth all the time when we were doing filings. So this is one of my favorite things. I love this. And just remember, you can always add in these whenever you get them, and don't worry about it. So if CS3 does your taxes, I'll say it just one more time. I promise I'll stop saying it. Send us in a copy of it just so we have a copy to make sure we tick and tie all those numbers. All right. So now let's switch gears and talk a little bit about ACA. And first thing we should do is start by talking about changes for this year. The first one is the Paperwork Burden Reduction Act. It was from the 2024 season, but it allowed us to electronically share federal forms with active employees. So you can see I kind of highlighted a piece there where you don't have to print them if you have active employees that electronically consent to receive them. And there's some more technical stuff there on the screen, but just keep that in mind. You can allow electronic consent for 1095s as well, just like Robin talked about for W-2s. The other one to talk about is the Employer Reporting Improvement Act for 2025. I love these bill names. Okay. And it gave us 3 important items. Electronic copies, like we talked about on the last slide. Anyone who's given consent and that has not been revoked, it just kind of reinforces that. It gives a statute of limitation on penalty assessments. And then it also tells what information employers are allowed to use on the forms. And these are taking effect for the 2025 reporting year. Next, let's talk a little bit about deadlines. This first one's kind of odd, and Robin and I went back and forth on it. We found stuff that contradicted each other, but I ended up going with what I kept seeing from the IRS, and that is the deadline for paper forms. Even though February 28th is a weekend, they still say the paper forms are due on February 28th. Now, you could probably find somewhere where it says March 2nd also, because I found both. So I feel wishy-washy about this, but I went with the earlier date because I feel like it's more conservative. Keep in mind, very few people are going to be filing on paper that are on this call. Almost everybody's going to have more than 9 1095s that are on here. May 2nd is the important one that you got to furnish them to the employees. And then deadline to submit your air filing is March 31st. And these are for federal forms. This is your reminder to either register for your TCC code, that transmitter control code, if you file forms electronically, or to be sure to test your login now. And again, just right before you're ready to file, just to make sure if there's any login problems, you want to find them early, because it's really hard to get a hold of them to get your issues resolved the closer you get to the due date. So other thing I'd say is don't wait till the last minute to file. I would try to file at least 15 to 30 days early if possible. There always seems to be things to fix. W-2 files, when we upload those, they post, yeah, no problems. But ACA forms, there's always something we have to go research after. So I definitely would recommend filing them early. And you can also, this is one more reminder, you can allow employees to elect electronic consent for the 1095 forms, just like you did on the W-2 forms, so you don't have to print a copy. And kind of in the same manner Robin talked about before, you need an action plan. You got to think about how you're going to approach ACA reporting. And you may just include this in with your year-end planning list. But a few extra things we need to do for ACA, we need to do some review in our benefit plans and our ACA setup, review our employee setup, kind of audit our employees, and run any reports, print forms, and submit the air filing. So let's start by talking about benefit setup, things we need to review. So some important things of note are the benefit type is super important. It's how the system knows that, hey, this plan is a health plan. I know it says medical up there, the behind the scenes thing says health. The ACA manager also looks at the benefit plans that are active within this year. So that active checkbox and the date range are super important. It looks at that eligibility filter also. So be sure to only set up the filter so it's eligible to offered to eligible employees. And the coverage provided through the end of the term month, when you check this box, it indicates the employee has coverage through the end of the month. So that marks that box for ACA reporting. There's also a box right underneath that for if you're self-insured. So if that applies, you check that box. And then always double check your coverage levels and make sure you got the correct pricing on them. And one more thing on this is down at the very, very bottom. If you scroll all the way down there, you'll see this ACA settings box. It's a widget inside the benefit plan that lets you specify if your plans provide minimum essential coverage and minimum value, and then the level to which they are provided. And if you're not sure, contact your benefit carrier or provider if you have questions about your plan. In the 2016 forms, they introduced a new line 14 code that is for conditional offer of coverage made to a spouse. And your benefit carrier or provider should be able to help you with if you offer a conditional offer to spouse. Also, if you hover over that informational icon there, it'll give you the description of what a conditional offer is. Benefit plans also have some, I should say that, benefit profiles also have some settings to review. The ACA manager will only look at health care plans that are attached to the benefit profile assigned to the employee. The ACA widget inside them has some stuff about transitional relief that were available for 2015 reporting. This is no longer available, so you don't have to pay any attention to that box in the benefit profile. And then we've also got ACA profiles. Boy, we talked about a lot of profiles today. The ACA profiles you assign on a per employee basis to tell the system everything it needs to know about measuring and reporting for the employees, whether it's how hours need to be measured or not, where to look for the hours, what qualifies as ACA full-time, and what's affordable this year. Be sure to look through all the rules in the ACA profile. And if you're not sure about something, be sure to send in a case to ask about it before you make changes to your profile if you've been using this for a few years. We'd rather just kind of talk through any changes you have with you. And then we want to make sure all qualified employees have the correct benefit profiles assigned. And I found the best and fastest way to do that is to go to the Team tab, Benefits, ACA, Employee ACA Actions. And then you can add columns for things like what's the current benefit profile, what's the ACA profile, and just like any of the other screens in Scissortail, you can export this to Excel, a PDF, or whatever application you prefer. Another big important part of ACA reporting is looking at the employee's ACA timeline. The timeline widgets are super helpful since they show you exactly how the system's calculating things, and you can look at them throughout the year, so you can be checking to make sure everything looks good on the employees. It gives you an at-a-glance picture of what the report's going to look like for the employee. The cool thing I also love about Scissortail is you can go look at those forms at any time also, because they're available to you early in the year. The items with a red M were manually updated, and you can kind of see where I put a red circle around those. There are 4 different timeline widgets. The top one is the 1095 widget, which shows you what codes are going to be populated on the 1095Cs. The fields are populated based on the ACA profile, but can be adjusted, just like you saw those manual ones down below, if something seems off. In the bottom, I've got my status, where I can see the hours, the part-time and full-time statuses. Next, the measurement widget shows me information about the various measurement periods, the waiting period, the initial measurement period, the standard measurement period. Lots of measurements going on here. Fields will be populated for those employees based on which measurement period they fall into. And then at the bottom, you've got the alerts widget, which shows you, anything you need to check for auditing your ACA data. It shows you if there's any compliance alerts, any approaching full-time status, or possible downgrades that you might need to look at. And then you'll notice at the top of each one of those, there's a blue info. And if you click that info link, it'll show a screen like this, where you can see the ACA rule debug information for that particular month, because you'll notice at the very top, this one says it's for February 2025. And it's for just this employee. And it'll tell you exactly how it calculated everything for that ACA month. So how the hours were pulled in, how the full-time status or part-time status was taken into effect, and what codes were assigned and why. So super helpful with troubleshooting and figuring out if something's not set quite right or why somebody's set a particular way. Finally, let's look at some reports to help you audit. As you can see in the menu on the left of the screen, there's a long list of reports you can view in Scissortail for ACA. Let's review a few of the reports, and I put numbers next to them in the order I'm going to go. We've got the employee ACA actions. It gives you an opportunity to mass recalculate, clear an ACA timeline, or import historical data. The W-2 safe harbor process can also be run from this location as well. The ACA data detailed gives you a month-by-month report of data from the ACA timeline. We've got the ACA data summary. This gives you a month-by-month summary of employees and indicates compliance alerts, as well as employees who need to be tested in the following month to determine ACA status. The number 4 report is the Form 1094C employee count. It gives you a month-by-month count of what will appear on Part 3 of the 1094C. And then number 5 is our ACA account status change history. This report automatically groups employees and will show you how the dates, the dates as they appear in the employee's ACA status history widget. Man, I'm losing it. There's nothing like looking at the actual forms though. So you'll see that there's in blue the actual looking at the forms. And once again, you can look at those anytime during the year. So that's an overview of our ACA. I will tell you that if you feel like you have to make a ton of manual edits to ACA, I would recommend you send in a ticket on it and let's look at your ACA setup. There might be something not set quite right. I feel like most manual edits that are needed are related to things like if somebody's termed and rehired multiple times within the year, or lots of status changes throughout the year. Those are the type of things that can make you have to do manual edits, but you still shouldn't have to do a lot of them. The system should calculate the majority of the forms correctly for you. So if you feel like you're having to do a lot of things manually, I would recommend reaching out to support and getting some help on that. So just a few reminders, or plan ahead, that's the first one. February 28th is when the forms are due to the employee. I'm sorry, that's March 2nd, really. Boy, I need to fix that. Don't forget your TCC code, review your settings, and register for the year-end class for more information. So, Derek, that's it for us. Back to you.
Nice. Thank you for that, Robin and Brandy. We do have, it looks like, a couple questions in the Q&A here. So let me get this pulled up. So the first question, what reports should I run to verify taxable wages? Robin, did you have any insight on that?
That is a good question. What you want to do is you're going to want to run the employee payroll summary export. So you'll find that under company settings, system data exports, and use Excel to subtotal the earnings, subtract your pre-tax deductions, and then compare that with your system calculated taxable wages. Sorry, it's a lot. Brandy, you got me tripping up on this too. So you also want to review
Catchy.
your W-2 forms and your quarterly reports.
Nice. Okay. Second question here. How do I enter new unemployment tax rates correctly? Brandy, I think this one might be for you.
Oh, thanks, Derek. I appreciate that.
More words, more words.
Yes. You'd want to go under settings, under payroll, and I think it's called company taxes. And you can enter, we went over this on a slide, you can enter the rates as soon as you get them. For 2026, you put effective 1/1/2026 and put in your new rate. If CS3 manages your tax filings, I'm getting one more time to say it, don't forget to send a copy in so we have a copy of it. And we'll also enter it for you if you haven't. So that's the other thing I'll tell you is if you want to send them in, we will have no problem putting that information in for you.
And if you do need to email your tax filings to CS3, you can send that to support@cs3technology.com. So just to throw that out there, that way everybody knows. And then last question we have here, does CS3 offer any kind of more in-depth service or assistance with regard to year-end closeout? And as a matter of fact, we do. You guys are slightly ahead of me here, but if we move on to the next slide, here you go. We have our Scissortail HCM year-end workshop. So this is in a few weeks. I don't remember the exact day, December 11th, maybe. I might have to double check that, but
that's correct, Greg.
Oh, nice. I couldn't remember if that was the day for the year in class or if that's my brother's birthday, and I think it might be both, actually. So,
you may want to look that birthday up. I can't help you with that one.
Yeah. So, we'll be having this in a few weeks. This is a little different from the session you guys just sat through here, in that it is much more hands-on. So, instead of 45 minutes to an hour, this is going to be a 3-hour session. It's going to be interactive, so cameras and mics will be on for both the presenters and the attendees. You'll be able to ask questions in real time. It's more of a dialogue than it is, us kind of talking at you. I have talked to Robin about how things are going to go, and she's going to be taking you guys through this in Scissortail. So it's not going to be, like the slideshow and the screenshots that we had here today. It is going to be much more hands-on. It's going to be live in Scissortail. If you plan it well and play your cards right, you can follow along with Robin and Brandy as they go through the step-by-step processes in Scissortail itself. So I unfortunately have to let you know that it's not a free class. Gary doesn't let me give away all the secrets for free, even though I do try to give most of them away for free. But it's $675 if you register on or before November 24th, which is Monday. So if this is something you're interested in, make sure you get over to that website you see at the bottom of the slideshow there, info.cs3technology.com/scissortail-workshop-2025 to register. After November 24th, it's $750 to register, so it's going to go up $75 if I'm doing my math correct there. But it is, it's a very helpful class. Like I said, it's going to be much more hand-holding. It's going to be live in Scissortail. If you're still, if you've got through the end of this and you still feel like you might need some help or just want, to follow along with someone as they work through this stuff, this is definitely going to be something you're interested in. And I should also mention that if you're a first-year CS3 customer, you do get to attend this class for free. So if this is your first year with CS3, it's free for you to attend. Make sure you reach out to your consultant, reach out to Robin, reach out to Ira. I will try to make sure that we get a link to this page included with the email when we send out the recording. That way you guys have access to it. You can register, but make sure you do so before end of day on Monday if you want that discounted rate. So
It's in our new shiny demo site, which is so pretty. We're very
Yes,
happy about it.
I know you guys worked really hard on that. So yeah, make sure you register, join us on December 11th for that. So we have one more Smart Talk session for 2025. It's insane that it's already basically the end of the year. December 18th, we're going to be having our ERP year-end mastery. So that will be Troy leading us through how to close out the year in Acumatica. If you have Acumatica, obviously this is a great one to attend. If you're interested in what closing Acumatica out at the end of the year looks like, this would be a really good one to attend. But that will be December 18th. We'll be sending invites out to that within the next week or so. And then obviously you can register for it on our website. If you just go to CS3Technology.com, click the resources tab, and then SmartTalks. So that's all we have for now. I am working on finalizing the trade show schedule. I know usually we show that off at the end here, but we're getting dates, figuring out what shows we want to go to for that. So make sure you attend Smart Talks next year in order to see what trade shows you guys can find us at. And then I did want to say one more thing before we wrap here. We're going to do things a little differently at the beginning of the year in 2026, and we are not going to have a January Smart Talks. So I know our Acumatica users are always really deep into year end in January. Usually we have a guest speaker come and join us, but just given everything that everyone is going to have going on with the beginning of 2026 and the end of 2025, we decided to take a break in January. If you guys hate that and you want us to do a guest speaker session in 2027, obviously we'll bring it back. But we're going to take a little break in January and then we're going to get rolling again in February. So there won't be a session in January, but we will start our regular scheduled programming back up in February with, I believe, an Acumatica session. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, enjoy your Thanksgiving. I hope everybody has a safe and wonderful holiday with their families. Don't forget, there is college football on Black Friday this year. So, you've got 4 days of football starting on Thursday, which is great for people like me. But enjoy your holidays, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Scissortail Year-End Mastery Smart Talks, and make sure to register for the year-end class if you feel like you need more help. Other than that, I will see everybody on December 18th for the Acumatica session. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you guys in December.